Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. On Thursday, the Israeli military raided southern Gaza's Nasser hospital and claimed they had captured several terror suspects. Israel's chief military spokesperson, Daniel Hagari, said they had credible information from several sources, including released hostages, indicating that Hamas held hostages at the Nasser hospital. The military stormed the hospital hours after Israeli fire killed a patient and wounded 6 others inside the medical complex. A day prior to the raid, the Israeli military had opened a secure corridor for displaced people to leave the hospital, but allowed doctors and patients to remain there. Hagari said the forces were conducting a, quote, precise and limited operation and would not forcibly evacuate medics or patients. A group of rabbis and scholars of Jewish-Christian dialogue have written to Pope Francis praising him for standing up to anti-Semitism. The letter, which thanks the Holy Father for his great support for Jews around the world, also recognised the Church's efforts to foster mutual respect and peace between Christians and Jews. On February the 2nd, Pope Francis had written to his Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel to express his support, calling for peace and understanding between Christians and Jews. Meanwhile, the signatories hope that Jewish and Christian groups will continue to communicate and to collaborate. The Knights of Columbus have called on all Catholics to join them in a Novena to pray for peace and healing in Ukraine. The 9-day Novena started on February the 15th and will conclude on February the 24th, the day that coincides with the 2nd anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Each day, people will pray for various war victims individually and as a community. The Novena aims to draw attention to the continuing suffering in Ukraine and to provide a platform for those affected by the war. Widows, orphans and the Ukrainian people as a whole will continue to receive help from the Knights, who have already sent substantial humanitarian aid to the country. The text for the Novena is posted on the website of the Knights of Columbus. Pope Francis has unveiled the theme for the 4th World Day for Grandparents and the Elderly. The Holy Father has chosen "Do Not Cast Me Off in My Old Age," taken from Psalm 71, as the theme for the day. Catholics around the world are invited to celebrate the day on July the 28th to commemorate the heritage and wisdom passed on to them by the elderly. The Dicastery for Laity, Family and Life published the theme, which depicts the plea of an elderly person who reflects on the story of his friendship with God. The theme calls attention to the fact that many elderly people suffer from sadness and loneliness and are often becoming victims of a throwaway culture. Nearly 5 years on, the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris has finally been blessed with a new spire. The new spire, adorned with a golden rooster and a cross, was unveiled as scaffolding was taken down recently. More than 70,000 pieces of scaffolding, weighing nearly 600 tons, were used to protect the spire while it was being constructed. French President Emmanuel Macron expressed the pride of the French nation at the new spire. The flame-shaped rooster on the spire was designed by Philippe Villeneuve. In April 2019, a raging fire swallowed the cathedral's roof and led to the collapse of the spire. The 850-year-old cathedral dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary is scheduled to reopen in December this year. The New Hampshire State Senate has rejected a proposal to put so-called abortion rights in the state constitution. The Republican-controlled Senate rejected the plan, which was intended by supporters to defend so-called personal reproductive autonomy. Currently, abortion beyond 24 weeks is prohibited by state law, except in situations where the mother's health or life is said to be in danger, or there is a fatal abnormality to the fetus. The Republican-controlled House had previously voted in support of a constitutional amendment protecting abortion up to the 24-week mark, but it fell short of the requisite 3/5 majority required. Since New Hampshire does not allow citizen-led ballot initiatives, the legislature and voters must approve any modifications to the state constitution. British lawmakers have spoken against a conversion therapy ban that would penalise anyone who tries to assist people seeking freedom from unwanted same-sex attraction or gender confusion, even when a person's sexual orientation or gender identity is discussed in a consensual manner. Only 15 spoke in favour, while 29 spoke against it during a debate on February the 9th in the House of Lords. Christian Concern, a UK faith-based legal group, said that the proposed law has no settled definition of conversion therapy and would allow what is deemed to be criminal to be open to broader interpretation in the future. In a recent incident, Muslim radicals in Pakistan attacked the homes of Christians in Chanak village in Punjab province. Although no casualties have been reported, property worth hundreds of thousands of Pakistani rupees was damaged in the assault. Arshad Masih, who filed a complaint, said that around 20 armed individuals targeted 3 Christian homes with petrol bombs. However, timely police intervention prevented further harm. So far, no arrests have been made. Bishop Abraham Daniel of Sahiwal Baptist Church said that the attackers were infuriated because Christians supported a Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz candidate in recent national elections. Furthermore, Masih has been targeted ever since his family constructed a church. The village is home to over 100 Christian families. The Nigerian government is considering deploying state police in its 36 states to strengthen the national police force amid escalating violence. Information Minister Mohammed Idris stated that issues like Islamist insurgency in the northeast, kidnappings for ransom, deadly farmer-herder clashes in the Central Belt, and separatist and gang violence in the southeast are straining Nigeria's police. In a discussion held between President Bola Tinubu and state governors, federal and state governments agreed on establishing a state police force specifically to counter terrorist threats. The Nigerian police force falls short of the United Nations recommended ratio of 1 police officer for about 450 citizens. In the wake of an upsurge in militia violence in the eastern regions of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees demanded on Tuesday that civilians caught in the crossfire be protected and safe access be allowed for humanitarian aid. An escalated fight between the Congolese army and the M23 rebel group in the eastern North Kivu province forced around 135,000 people to flee to safer areas. The strategic town of Sake on the northern banks of Lake Kivu was reportedly surrounded by M23 fighters just last week. The UN Refugee Agency confirmed receiving reports of bombing in Sake and in Goma, where an estimated 65,000 internally displaced people have taken shelter. Ongoing violence has made humanitarian aid to the needy difficult. The Ecuadorian Bishops' Conference has expressed deep concern and disagreement with the recent decision of the Constitutional Court to legalise euthanasia in the country. The bishops emphasised the sanctity and inviolability of human life, stating that any involvement with ending life ultimately harms the most fragile and defenceless individuals. On February the 7th, the highest court in the country upheld the constitutionality of Article 144 of the Penal Code, but made an exception for euthanasia under specific conditions. Article 144 stipulates punishment of anyone who causes a person to die under various circumstances with long-term imprisonment. The bishops cautioned that the ruling lacks clarity on the criteria specifics as they are not explicitly defined. A petition has been launched by the pro-life group Texas Right to Life, urging the University of Houston to keep a satanic abortion idol out of Texas. The petition comes just before the exhibit of an 18-foot-tall statue named Witness at the Cullen Family Plaza by the school's public art program from February the 28th all the way to October the 31st. The pro-life organisation has denounced the statue as a satanic image that honours abortion. The group also voiced objections to the multimedia exhibit's title, Hava, which translates to Eve in Arabic and Hebrew. The petition has also objected to comments made by Shazia Sikander, the artist behind Witness, in a New York Times interview where she praised Eve as the first lawbreaker. Meanwhile, the University of Houston has defended its decision to display the statue. The Syrian city of Raqqa has set up an office of the High Committee for Real Estate to safeguard the properties of Christian owners who have fled the area during the Syrian conflict. This is aimed at preventing illegal confiscation. The Secretary of the High Committee for Real Estate is framing the measure as one to safeguard the rights of minorities. Following the Islamic State's downfall, the region is now under the control of Kurdish forces and is backed by the US military. The committee's responsibility is to document real estate, residences and land belonging to Armenian, Syrian and Assyrian Christian owners. The policy's stated objective is to facilitate the repatriation of Christians displaced during the prolonged conflict that has ravaged Syria. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again next time for more. And do remember, in the meantime, you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.